Hello, everyone, and welcome to Senduit's IRT presentation, where we will be discussing tips for overcoming today's drug supply challenges through scalable, adaptable technology. My name is Tom Nelson, Project Management Consultant at Senduit and IQVIA Business. I will be one of your hosts today, along with Mark Berry, Senior Project Manager with Senduit's Drug Supply Center of Excellence. Today, we will be exploring how to manage your supply chain through IRT with self-service tools and actionable insights, as well as best practices for supply forecasting and buffer stock management. We will also discuss flexible IRT design strategies that support traditional, decentralized, or hybrid trials. Senduit offers clinical supply chain intelligence and clinical operations knowledge management through IRT solutions and services. To kick off our presentation, I'll hand it over to Mark, who will provide an overview of designing IRT drug supply strategy.
Thanks, Tom. I'd like to start with a key element to successfully implementing an IRT system and using it for driving optimized drug supply strategy. That's expertise. Throughout this webinar, you'll be able to see the benefits of this expertise and what it can bring to the supply chain for the clinical trial. Senduit has deep roots in clinical supply chain business, and it was built by stakeholders with strong drug supply expertise. Because of our strength in this important competence, a strategic decision was made several years back to invest in a drug supply center of excellence. Today, the Senduit Drug Supply Center of Excellence includes a strong team of drug supply industry and technology experts who address emerging industry challenges and develop new solutions that cost effectively address our customer clinical supply challenges. The key steps for an effective drug supply are plan, monitor, and adjust. And to take this a step further, we want to look at how we deliver on this to create an optimized clinical supply chain. We use technology to set up the right approach for the clinical supply strategy. We use expertise to optimize implementation of the clinical supply strategy, and we use data to automate optimization. So in more detail, on the technology side, the IRT system needs to have the right algorithms in place to forecast the drug needs most effectively for different study designs. Especially important is how the expiry date is managed. You need to have a system that can be configured for each study needs without the need for specific customization for each individual study. You must also have the ability to change the supply configuration if needed throughout the study, where discrepancies between initial assumptions and what's actually occurring has happened. Then you need the tools and expertise to configure the study optimally based on the plan, on drug availability, on the recruitment plans, and on the study design. Simulation tools that match the supply settings of the IRT exactly are great tools that support the visualization of shipment patterns, of drug wastage, and help to compare the different strategies to identify the most appropriate strategy based on risk and cost. Last but not least, you need to use the data in the study to continuously optimize the supply strategy. Using real-time data allows you to identify supply risks before they happen and take measures to ensure the supply chain runs smoothly. Using automation, the IRT can reduce excess waste and excess buffer without the need for manual oversight. I expect there'll be a lot of innovations coming our way in the next few years. It's not a linear process, but achievements in one area will drive innovation in other areas as well. The foundation of this is expertise in both technology and drug supply that brings it all together in a cohesive system. How do we utilize technology, expertise, and data during the clinical trial? The Senduit team has over a decade's worth of experience to build strong IRT platforms for supply chain management. This starts with the IRT modules that manage the supply chain. From release instructions that are part of every trial and require no customization, to forms that manage relabeling and expiry dates that need to be extended. Then at the heart are the algorithms that calculate the shipping need. These should support shipping quantities that have great flexibility to be adjusted to any study without any customized programming needed. Here it's important that for every study, we define what drugs needed to be forecasted for ongoing patient demand on particular parameters, as well as drug that we need to cover by buffer stocks at the site. For example, in a study with multiple dose levels, we'll forecast the most probable dose. We can also forecast for likely changes, as well as cover for those probable changes by having the appropriate buffer stock at the sites. Our expiry date management ensures that we supply the right expiry date for each individual patient visit, and we manage buffer stocks in a very smart manner. This minimizes drug waste at sites as we reach the expiry dates during the study. And in addition, our system can recognize when we're approaching the replacement date for buffer stock and have these kits replaced in orders raised by the system for upcoming patient need. Using early replacement functionality, we significantly reduce the number of shipments for expiry date replacements. By using a pre-validated platform, we have a great number of configuration options and can manage changes during the life cycle of the trial. Our dynamic optimal buffer stock tool assigns sites on an ongoing basis to the most optimal supply strategy. This is one of our platform tools that uses embedded intelligence to ensure optimization. It's been a very successful product, and I'll go into it in more detail in the next slide. The team at the Drug Supply Center of Excellence continues to work further for the automation of supply strategies with tools that are based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. All of this together allows us to easily configure an intelligent, optimized drug supply chain for any study that reduces risk, reduces wastage, reduces cost, and reduces effort. So I'd like to show you automation in action. This is how it works. Based on a study that we have applied the dynamic optimal buffer stock tool, we used our internal simulation tool to compare different supply strategies against each other. So here we're comparing the use of a static buffer stock against our dynamic optimal buffer stock tool. The outcome shown is on the right-hand side there. This is for one of the sites in the study. At this site, we simulated 24 patients being recruited and the study completion timelines of about 1.5 years. The dynamic optimal buffer stock tool changed the supply strategy for this one site 23 times during the duration of the study and assigned the site to 13 different supply strategies based on the configuration of where patients were at any particular time in the trial. You can see the results that we have achieved in the simulation. Using the dynamic optimal buffer stock tool, we had a reduction of stock out situations. There was one when using the static buffer stock. We reduced that to 0. We've reduced the drug wastage by over 50%. Using the static buffer stock, there was 64 kits wasted. In our simulation, by using our dynamic optimal buffer stock tool, there was only 28 wasted at the end of the trial. Using the trial, we were also able to reduce the number of shipments by more than a third, from 8 shipments to that site to only 5. Now, even though automation has great potential, not everything can be automated. Tom will now show you how easy it is to make changes using our IRT modules that impact the drug supply chain in our system.
Thanks, Mark. So you've just heard about our automated features and capabilities for optimizing trial supply management. I'd like to talk a little bit about the self-service tools that are used in combination with these features. So these tools allow for a real-time response to any study condition changes, giving complete control at your fingertips. For example, you can immediately turn off shipments at a site, a country, a region, or a global level. You can also create or update a supply strategy. For the strategies, this could be adjusting the trigger level for new orders. It could also be the setting for your initial shipment, think site activation versus the first subject visit. You could even shift the number of days or visits in the forecasting window for prediction. This puts the tools in your hands, allowing you to tailor and update your studies when convenient. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mark to finish trial supply management.
Thanks again, Tom. So to summarize the first section of the presentation, we wanted to show some examples of why we feel strongly that the drug supply technology and IRT is of utmost importance. So let's review its importance through the lens of key industry drivers. First, there's a pressure to reduce drug supply costs and achieve a lean supply chain. This is driven by the increase in drug and manufacturing costs, as well as shipment costs. Two examples here show the need for optimized supply chain due to expensive comparators and the increased costs for shipping temperature control drugs. Second, we have increased complexity of study protocols and the need for constant change that requires more flexibility in the system that manages a clinical trial. Using our drug supply technology to combat these drivers can result in great savings. In many cases, the savings can be much higher than the actual total cost of the IRT for the study. Using a couple of examples, using our dynamic optimal buffer stock tool, we've highlighted savings that have been achieved on the slide here. For example, we've achieved a 75% reduction of shipments when using this tool in a program of 3 studies, resulting in a saving of $3 million on shipping costs per year. At the same time, we've also greatly reduced site stockout situations on those trials. On another study, we were able to achieve 35% reduction in stock wastage of an expensive comparator. This resulted in savings of over $2 million for that particular study. And using our smart expiry date management in conjunction with the dynamic optimal buffer stock tool, we were able to reduce the number of replacement shipments to 0. Studies that are running long and have multiple expiry date events obviously will see a huge benefit when using this kind of technology. There are many more success stories that we could share and lots of new ones that are in the works now. I'll hand back to Tom to look more specifically at industry trends and how they impact the IRT and drug supply.
Thank you, Mark. We'll jump right into platform adaptability and optimization. For the sponsor, it's often expected that the IRT system will need to evolve over time and adapt to change with minimal impact on study timelines. To satisfy this requirement, it's crucial for the IRT system to be flexible. Flexibility can be achieved if the picture flow here runs smoothly. Looking up towards the top, you'll see built for change. The IRT project manager will initially spec the study based on the protocol. Some designs are more challenging and innovative than others, such as decentralized, adaptive, multi-phase, or platform trials. Each of these has specific features that require specific solutions. With deep expertise, a project manager will guide the team and ultimately help to avoid scope creep and costly change orders. Moving over to monitoring the study, it's important to have appropriate real-time reports and data transfers available to review collected data during the interim analysis. This will allow for quick decisions on the direction of the trial, which leads into the next point for adjusting study design. Upon safety review and efficacy data, adjustments may be required, such as the addition or removal of a treatment arm, adjusting the sample size, opening, closing a cohort, or a study phase. In any case, the IRT system needs to adapt as quickly as possible. To give you a recent example, in a platform trial for a COVID-19 study, there are multiple treatments being tested in parallel. The ones showing the best results will extend their enrollment, and the others will be withdrawn. To the last point of governance and standardization, it's important to establish a governance structure at the appropriate level. This might be sponsor-specific or a therapeutic area. Also, standardization is key to achieving flexibility, as the functionality with proven efficiency will now become the norm, meaning you'll have more robust configurations, improved quality, and shortened timelines. Continuing along with the theme of optimization, the optimized technology minimizes the burden of the end users, provides clear and accurate data, and supports a multitude of scenarios. We've broken it down into 2 different aspects here. The first is the expertise of the project manager in IRT. It is key as it will allow for a better understanding of the big picture and study requirements. Additionally, it leads to an enhanced ability to anticipate risks in the following areas. You have technical, which would be a bug or a system configuration. You have logistical, which could be drug management at the depot, specific distribution vendor requirements or drug orders. And you have site processes, which would be interaction between the site staff and or unblinding risks. The second aspect is utilizing the expertise of the PM to broaden the capabilities of the clinical study team and enhance the communication. The expertise here allows for more efficient reporting of data for better decision-making. As a result, it reduces duplication of data entry and reduces burden on the other teams. Jumping into some best practices to help support innovative trials, you'll see a graphic here that has 4 different types of complex evolving trial designs. So the tips and tricks that we're going to cover can apply to other types of studies and can even be interchangeable between some of the 4 designs here. So all the way on the left, we have platform trials, which we've seen a recent uptick in due to the COVID-19 race for a treatment. So in these studies, as treatment arms are consistently being removed, added, it's important to consider the following items. One would be a minimization algorithm for randomization. This helps to achieve balance between various revolving treatment arms. Second would be a specific distribution and supply plan based on the availability of drug at the study or the site level. And lastly, self-service tools. These would be used for a treatment activation where you could quickly flip on or off an arm. The second form of trials would be decentralized or direct-to-patient. The focus here is on drug management. By nature, these trials will support patient visits remotely or through a caregiver directly at a patient's home. The IRT needs to have flexible shipping and dispensing to support at-home versus site dispensing, as well as medication receipt from the patient or caregiver. The third design would be early phase trials. These are not necessarily new in terms of design, but they come with a high level of complexity, which makes the self-service tools key here. So for some examples, you have cohort management, which also incorporates capping updates. You often have a high number of cohorts with a low number of patients in these trials. An easy way to allow for immediate enrollment of 1 or more additional subjects would be to use this cohort management form. You can also have a dose creation or update form and a recruitment management form that allows you to stop or resume screening and enrollment immediately. These tools allow for the next study phase to begin immediately upon identification of the maximum tolerated dose and eliminate the need for a system change. And the last example here is adaptive randomization. Now this applies to multiple study designs, but a few key items to provide here. With adaptive ran, you'll want simulations and projections early in the design process, not only for randomization, but also for potential drug supplies. The randomization process here is dynamic, so it's going to evolve based on all prior data entered. You'll also want dedicated biostat support, which is mainly required due to the complexity with the adaptive randomization and the algorithm behind it. And lastly, self-service supply strategy update tool to support new materials and sample size changes as the trials go on. To successfully support any trial design, you must have the right team, the right tools, and the right approach. To provide the right tools, the project manager is anticipating areas for potential change. For example, is there potential for new doses, new treatment arms, or new supply strategies mid-study? These types of questions will enable the project manager to leverage their expertise to support the protocol when it needs to react to future change. It's also crucial for the team to think outside of the box. This is where it's important to take a step back and address flexibility within the tools based on the study design. Could an integration help streamline the process and reduce duplicate efforts? How will temperature excursion management and return shipments be handled for direct-to-patient shipping dispensing? The team will provide a solution to fit the study design by working with the right people, both internally and externally. And lastly, our recommended approach to streamline the development process is by utilizing a system that is configurable with the ability to customize. It's important that PMs challenge customization and make sure they are placed where it makes sense to do so. There is a need to customize, but we suggest that you choose the areas appropriately. A very important benefit of this process is that the customizations you make today will be leveraged to enhance the configurable capabilities of tomorrow. This allows for high quality while adapting to the current and future study needs. I want to emphasize that staying with the configurable solution makes it easier to accelerate future change. In the next couple of slides, I'll illustrate with examples of how to optimize supplies within a decentralized trial and what it means to IRT. So there's a variety of decentralized approaches. You could have a fully virtual study, a hybrid, or even a mid-study transition to a hybrid design. In any case, if you're going to incorporate a decentralized model, then you need to consider how it will be executed. This is where experienced project managers will review the design and identify the best approach for IRT to incorporate this model. The project manager is also looking to future-proof the trial. You may not need a decentralized design today, but want to be ready if it's needed in the future. Having that flexibility to build in the functionality up front or to ensure a low cost change can be supported in the future is important. A few items to highlight for the supply chain here. You need coordinated but flexible shipment requests. So you might have traditional depot to site shipments in addition to automated direct to patient shipments. In either case, you need to have full control over site to subject shipments. So you want the ability to mark them as damaged, lost, or record temperature excursions if they occur. You also need complete shipment data displayed in the reports for full visibility. For returns management, the project manager will look into the best approach. An eCOA integration might be recommended here. This type of integration can be used for the patient to confirm receipt of medication and track accountability of used versus unused IP. This will enable tracking IP from when it's released at the depot straight through to when it's returned back to the depot. So I'd like to review this case study as it's an excellent example of an overall approach to system design and the results it can achieve. So to highlight the study summary on the top left here, it's a central nervous system phase 2-3 study. We had multiple integrations, multiple amendments with an extension tacked on. This also had on-site and at-home dispensing, which is what I'll dive into first. So there were separate dispensing and shipping strategies for on-site visits and at-home visits. For dispensing, the IRT prompts the site user to indicate if the patient is coming into the site or if home dispensing is required for an upcoming visit. If it's at home, a system transaction is used to verify the at-home delivery and dosing. This allows for compliance checks and full traceability of IP. An alternative option not used in this study would be to have a single transaction for dispensing and shipment. This can be convenient for the end user if the study design permits. For shipments, the graphic on the bottom demonstrates the path for at-home visits. The direct-to-patient shipments are supported by the home healthcare network, as self-administration was not feasible in this case. The home healthcare network registers the drug order. The IRT generates the order through a central pharmacy. Then the central pharmacy ships the IP to the home healthcare network's specified location, and it is then picked up and delivered to the patient. Shipments can also be supported by a logistics partner company in this scenario as well. One last item to highlight here is that the functionality created specifically for this trial is currently being leveraged in an extension study. It's customized for the initial study, and now it's pre-built and pre-validated for the extension. With that, I will now pass it back over to Mark to go into more detail on the oversight of the clinical supply chain.
Thanks, Tom. So as you can see, with decentralized trials and increasing study complexity, we require more precise tools to oversee the supply chain. Even with an optimized setup and automation tools, there's still a need for regular oversight. A forecasting tool set to accurately predict your supply usage across depots to identify emerging trends and risks is critical. Having those forecasts available anytime at your fingertips within the IRT system is really going to be of immense value to study teams to ensure that everything's under control throughout the lifetime of the trial. It's important that these tools are able to take into account real-time data, as well as the most recent recruitment predictions. When it comes to site stock at risk, you need intelligent alerts to show how unexpected events, for instance, temperature excursions or delayed shipments or unplanned dispensing, how they result in risks to upcoming patient visits, and you're able to take the right measures to avoid patients not receiving their drug on time. You also need to access key supply indicators to assess site supply strategies on an ongoing basis. This is to ensure that the current strategy is still the appropriate strategy for those particular sites. It enables you to fine-tune the supply chain and keep things optimized. The oversight requires great expertise, and the study teams often benefit from an experienced partner to help them make best use of the technology available. So, on behalf of Tom and myself, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and hope it's been insightful for you. Tom and I can be reached directly using the contact information listed. We're happy to take individual questions and can arrange one-to-one consultations regarding your specific study needs. Thank you again for joining us.